Hey, Weekly Walk viewers. This is a big weekly walk because, well, as Harry pointed out, we are not walking, so that. But I am with the CIO of Zoom on Zoom, so it's kind of a big deal for the weekly walks or the weekly sits.
Weekly sits.
The weekly sit, sponsored by Zoom. So
Excellent.
I'm just promoting you to all my followers. Not that you guys need any more promotion, but
Well, it's great to see you and great to be here with you on this Tuesday morning. And I'm coming to you live from the Long Room, which is the second longest Long Room in Ireland. It's at Adair Manor, which is Southern Ireland,
okay.
down towards Limerick.
All right.
And the longest long room in Ireland is the library, the old library at Trinity College Dublin, where I studied, where the Book
Okay.
of Kells is. So if you ever go to Dublin, you got to go to the long room.
All right. Well, now everyone
It's
knows
a beautiful library.
where they're going to go when they can travel internationally again.
Yeah, but actually, I've never left the comfort of my home, and this is just one of our virtual backgrounds.
Yes, and I'm there with you. So it's like we're together, even
Yeah.
though even though we're not.
We-
So all right, so I've got my questions for you. So you were retired and then you sort of failed at the whole retirement thing and you joined Zoom a few years back. What was it about Zoom and the company that brought you out of retirement?
Yeah, so there's several reasons I came out of retirement. One was that there's always been a need to collaborate locally, nationally, and globally. And it's if we go back over the last sort of call it 7, 8, 9 years, organizations around the world collapsed their offices, increased the density of the work environment, took down the walls, took down the cubicles, and created that collaboration environment inside of their offices.
Yep.
But then that's good for that location, but if you want to collaborate locally across the city, collaborate with your clients, collaborate nationally, collaborate globally, how were you going to do that? People sort of still were jumping on planes and flying to cities, and so whilst there were a bunch of solutions out there, none of them worked really, really well. None of them worked seamlessly. None of them worked efficiently. None of them worked on sort of agnostic platforms. And then once I met Eric Yuan, our CEO and founder, and understood his background, his vision, his passion, the dramatically different technology architecture that has been designed to support the Zoom platform,
Mm-hmm.
which includes chat and meetings and voice and rooms.
Mm-hmm.
It became very obvious that this was going to be a technology platform and a company that was finally going to answer the questions of how do we collaborate locally, nationally, and globally without having to sort of travel. And when you go back over the last several months, we've clearly seen that there's been a dramatic mind shift in terms of the leveraging a video platform. I mean, we had our earnings a couple of weeks ago. We talked about how we've gone from 10 million daily participants to 200 million to 300 million.
Yeah.
We've gone from 100 billion annualized meeting minutes to 2 trillion annualized meeting minutes. These are staggering growth numbers. And also, the myth of sort of like the notion of work from home is gone. People have always said it's like, working from home. People aren't going to really work from home. They're going to be doing laundry. They're going to be walking the dog. They're going to be playing with the kids. They're not really going to be working. Those myths are now gone. In fact, in many cases, companies have seen an increase in productivity of their employees working from home. And yes, they may be going to take the laundry out of the washing machine and put it in the dryer, or they may take the dog for a 15-minute walk during the morning. But what's wrong with that? It's kind of like, they're not wasting time in the office having social conversations like we've all done in the past. And people are really enjoying this freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the contributions are up, the productivity is up, the benefits are there.
Yeah.
So, sorry, long answer to a short question.
No, that's great. I have to say I'm excited. Zoom has been fabulous. I am excited to be able to pivot my weekly walks back to in person, but otherwise obviously love Zoom. And not just because, I love you too, but it's definitely been great for OpenView, and I know a lot of companies with that. So I'm glad you failed at retirement a few years back, and I'm sure Zoom is too. So kind of on that note about this rapid growth that you've seen, I'm sure when 2020 started and you folks were looking at what the year would look like, you probably didn't think that it would be such a household name that, you talk about at the dinner table. How have you as the CIO helped the company through this just absolute rapid growth that you've seen?
Yeah, so so at Zoom, we have a wonderful culture. Eric, terrific leader, very flat organization. And quite honestly, it's, when I reflect on how we are operating now versus how we operated before coronavirus, it's a little different. So before coronavirus, the vast majority of the executive team worked out of the San Jose office. So when we had a management meeting, everybody was in the conference room, and a couple of us would join over Zoom. So there's always like a conflict between people in the room and working with people who are coming in on over video.
Yeah.
But now that everybody's remote, everybody's head is the same size. No, it's true. It's like, everybody's sort of like the same physical size on the screen. There's no egos in the room. The extroverted person, is very vocal on the meeting. The introverted person, which I am probably more of that introverted person, has the ability to communicate with the team, but using chat.
Yeah.
So, and there's less of the talking over.
Mm-hmm.
So there's much more interaction. And so going back to your question, it's been a very collaborative effort. We divide and conquer. Issues come up, we jump on calls. For several months, we had daily stand-up calls with the leadership team. Besides our weekly management meeting, we would raise the issue. And we have a culture at Zoom: what's the problem?
Okay.
What's the root cause? And what's the solution? And so everything we do sort of falls into that philosophy, which I think is very pragmatic.
Yep.
And gets rid of the subjective. People are sort of too quick to identify, we got a problem and here's the solution.
Yeah. Yep.
It may be a solution, but until you identify and understand what is the root cause, how are you going to sort of put the solution in place? So also, did a lot of engaging with a lot of our executive clients, large clients, did a lot of briefings, participated in a number of events, and talking to news and various different media outlets. So
yeah,
been a fun ride, that's for sure. It's like,
I can imagine.
I mean, it's like, I'm almost. So I joined in March of 18, so a little over 27 months ago, so close to that. And it's going to be kind of interesting as I reflect on sort of like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Sort of my role has morphed and changed over time.
Yeah.
Which is all good. Prior to coronavirus, I used to be on 3 or 4 flights a week.
Yes.
And I haven't been to an airport since the middle of February. And I've got sort of no plans to sort of go back to an airport anytime soon.
Yeah.
As I said in my weekly update to the executive team last week, it's like over the course of the last 15 weeks, I've had breakfast 105 times with my wife. I've made dinner 105 times, and in each case, I suspect that outdid all of 2019. What sort of my perspective, based upon a lot of input from various event organizers, is 2 things. One is, virtual events are much easier to get to. You can participate easier because I can have this running over here in one window. I can continue operating, and just, I'm not multitasking, but I'm like listening. But it's sort of like having having CNN on during the day. It's kind of like you're watching and you're listening, but so you can participate in a virtual event like that.
Yeah.
And I do think sort of in-person events will come back. In-person events will come back, but they won't be to the same extent as what they were previously. I think there'll be less people there because people are going. My perspective is people will travel less.
Yeah.
And so I think that events will pivot to be more hybrid, where there'll be parts of it virtual, parts of it in person.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see some exciting things in the event space. So, because one of the big things about events is networking.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to network when you're, sort of everybody's distributed. And so I think we'll see some interesting technology changes to enhance the virtual experience, to increase the ability for people to network.
That makes sense. Is your wife ready to send you back on a plane after being home so much?
No, I think absolutely not. She wasn't happy. Well, she wasn't excited about me traveling as frequently as I did. So, and given that we have a new puppy at home, timing worked out very well.
Good, good. I'm glad. Yes, and his puppy's very cute. So, and my last question for you is, what is one thing that people might not know about you outside of being a CIO, the CIO of Zoom?
Well, probably the sort of what I enjoy. One of my pastimes that I enjoy the most is cooking.
Okay.
And whilst I have been cooking every night since I think March 2nd or March 1st, and that's fun because it's like turn on some nice music, open up some nice wine. My wife is in the kitchen too, and we sometimes cook together. Sometimes she has work to do, but at least we're in the kitchen together, and that's very relaxing. But one of my greatest things that I love to do is actual dinner parties with my friends.
Okay.
At home, because it's like it all starts with like the guest list, and then okay, so we're going to do it. It's and then creating the menu. That's always fun, getting out all the cookbooks and deciding what to make, and then sort of making the ingredients, and then going to do the shopping, and then the actual cooking, and then the eating, and then watching the friends arrive and enjoy the food and the wine and the laughter. And I think that's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah,
That's great. You'll have to get you some dinner parties on the books soon. Well, I'm sure. Hopefully, you can do them via Zoom right now. So.
Yeah, we talked about doing a dinner party with our friends over Zoom. It's not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could cook the food and send it to them and stuff, but that sounds like that doesn't sound like the same thing. So
it doesn't. But if you need someone to experiment shipping food to, I'm always happy to take food up here in Boston. So
sounds good. Sounds good.
And wine, all the things. So awesome. Well, Harry, thank you. Thank you for sitting down with me via Zoom, and we will make sure to do a actual weekly walk when we can see each other in person. So
sounds like a plan. Okay. All right, Casey.
Soon. Bye,
Enjoy
guys.
the day. Yeah, stay well.